I want to talk about some things that are probably more of a sure thing than a question mark. We've talked about a lot of question marks, but we haven't talked a lot about the sure things. And one player in particular. And let me start the show with this, because I know we got through all the, hooting and hollering about opening day and everything like that. But everybody wants to talk about the stars. They want to talk about the lineup. They want to talk about the big names. They want to talk about who's going to carry the offense for the Padres. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you've been paying attention, and I mean really paying attention, you know this. The strength of this team, the identity of this team, the thing you can actually carry them through the 162-game season and into October is the bullpen. And it's not just the bullpen as a whole. I think there's one guy in particular in that bullpen who might be the most important piece to the entire thing. He's not the biggest name in the bullpen. He's not the guy that gets headlines in the bullpen. He's not even necessarily the best pitcher in the bullpen, but he is the most important. And that's Adrian Morejon. And I'll take it one step further. If the Padres are serious about winning in 2026, if they're serious about maximizing this roster, if they're serious about building something sustainable, they need to extend Adrian Morejon before the season is over. Because what he brings to this bullpen is something you can't replace. And honestly, it took a long time to get here. I think about his journey. This is a kid that came over from Cuba at 16 years old with massive expectations. Big arm, big money, big future. And for years, it never fully clicked. You had injuries. You had setbacks. You had the shoulder. You had the back. You had Tommy John surgery. And every time it felt like he was about to break through, something stopped him. And then something changed. Before the 2025 season, the Padres were seriously considering stretching him back out into a starter, which makes sense, right? We've talked about it on the show. The kid's got 5 pitches. He's got a big arm. He's a former top prospect. You signed him originally to be a starting pitcher. That's usually the path. But Morejon said no. He pushed back. He told Ruben Niebla, let me be a reliever. Let me be great at this. And not just good. He told him, I'll be a top 10 reliever. That's confidence. That's belief. And then he went out, and guess what he did? He backed it up last year. Because in 2025, Adrian Morejon became, Adrian Morejon. And you can make a real argument, not a hot take, a real argument that he was the most valuable pitcher on this team. He wasn't the closer. He's not the starter at the top of the rotation. He's the reliever who comes into chaos and ends it. That's his role. That's what makes him different. Anyone can pitch a clean inning. Not everyone can come in with traffic on the bases, game on the line, and shut it down. That's where Morejon thrives. Last year, Adrian inherited 45 runners. You know how many scored? Out of 45 runners, Frank, do you know how many of those guys scored?
3.
5. That's an 11% inherited runner scoring rate. One of the best we've seen in decades. Let me translate that for you for a second. That's games saved. That's wins preserved. That's the difference between a playoff team and a team watching October from home. There were 12 games last year where he came in with runners on, tight score, and didn't allow a single run to cross. 12. That's not luck, guys. That's elite. That's a mentality. And that's why I say he's the most important piece of this bullpen. Because while everyone else has defined roles, 7th inning, 8th inning, closer, Morejon's kind of the fireman of this bullpen. He's the guy you call on when everything is about to fall apart. And when you have that guy, your entire bullpen becomes stronger. Your manager has more flexibility. Your team has more confidence. And let's talk about the stuff for a second, because it's not just mental, it's electric stuff. He's averaging nearly 98 miles an hour on his sinker. He's now hitting 100 and 101 miles an hour regularly on his fastball from the left side. How many lefties, Frank, do you see that pump 100?
Not many.
Not a lot. What's the saying about a lefty? Oh, he's a crafty lefty. Power throwing righties, crafty lefties. This kid's throwing 101 miles an hour from the left side. That alone is just rare. So you got his sinker coming at 92. You got his fastball pumping at 101. 100 and 101. And then you added a disappearing changeup. You add a sharp slider, and you got a 5-pitch total mix. That's not a normal reliever. That's a weapon. That's someone you can deploy in multiple situations against any part of the lineup. And here's what might be the most important part of his development. It's not the velocity. It's not even the results. It's the maturity. In 2024, he needed constant mound visits. Every time there was traffic, Ruben Niebla was walking out there, calming him down, resetting him. Last year, that changed. He handled it himself. He stayed locked in. He attacked hitters. He trusted his stuff. That's growth. That's the difference between a talented arm and a reliable weapon. And now he's entering a massive year. Final season before free agency, prime of his career, finally healthy, finally confident, finally consistent. And that's why the Padres can't wait on this. You don't let a guy like this get to the open market. You don't gamble on replacing this kind of role, because here's the truth about bullpens. They're volatile. They change year to year. Guys come and go. Performance fluctuates. And when you find someone who can anchor it in high leverage chaos, you lock that in immediately. Because while Mason Miller might be the closer, Adrian Morejon might be the guy who actually determines how many games you win. And that's not an exaggeration. That's the reality of modern baseball. The middle innings, the high leverage moments before the ninth. That's where the games are decided. And he owns those moments. So while everyone else is focused on the lineup, while everyone else is talking about the stars, I look at this bullpen and I'm saying this. The Padres' biggest strength is their bullpen, and the bullpen's most important piece is Adrian Morejon. It is time to extend him. It is time to lock him in, because if he repeats what he did last year, you're not just talking about a great reliever, you're talking about one of the most valuable pitchers in all of Major League Baseball, and a guy you absolutely cannot afford to lose. He makes this bullpen click. You invested the time in finding him at age 16. You invested the time and the money and the effort in the growing pains of watching the kid as a teenager grow into a young man and then turn himself into one of the best bullpen pieces in Major League Baseball, in one of the best bullpens that you'll ever see in Major League Baseball. And with the reinforcements coming up the pipeline in the bullpen, with guys like Bradley Rodriguez, with guys like David Morgan, with guys like Jeremiah Estrada, with guys like Mason Miller, and all of these young arms that are under contract for a long time, it's time to extend Adrian and make him part of this bullpen that's going to be one of the best in baseball for the next 4 to 5 years.